Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. You ready for another episode of My Bigfoot Sighting? Alright then, let's do this.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, love's in the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.
If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to mybigfootsighting.com.
My Bigfoot sighting happened when I was walking to work one Sunday morning. I've walked through there many times before walking to work. It wasn't too far to my work. It was like 2 miles down the hill from where I live in Fairwood, Washington. My work was in Renton, Washington. I'd walked that work many times before, and nothing really happened. Sometimes you got to watch out for the shady characters in the city, but besides that, I was fine. I'm male in my 20s, Never even carried a knife or anything. Didn't even have a phone at the time. I was working at this burger joint, and I hadn't washed my clothes the night before work. I was a little lazy, and my 20-year-old self, and I have my own place, would do whatever I want. So I was like, walk to work. I can wash them at night or whatever, So I'm walking to work, and I've walked this place many times before. It was like dimly lit at 4 a.m. in the morning. The street lights lit up the street, so I was fine. And you get past this area of Fairwood, Washington, you come down the hill on Petrovisky, and there's this wooded area. The Soos Creek swamp stretches from this wooded area, and the swamp and everything, you walk through that area and you get back to more lighting, and it's more of a pleasant walk. And it was like a little creepy through there, but I grew up in Goldendale, Washington, and knew the woods from growing up there in Goldendale. Come up here to the city for work and whatnot, and I'm walking through there, and right as I'm walking through there, down the hill, everything's fine. It's a little hazy, like a fog in the air at 4 a.m. right before the fog lifts and the sun comes out. So I'm walking, and right dead across the road, I get right in the middle of the swamp area. I get stopped by this enormous grunt. It was beast-like. It was like a 2,000-pound gorilla beating on its chest, the grunt that it makes, but without the beating of the chest, it was grunting. The initial grunt broke me. I froze instantly. Its grunting was rattling my rib cage. My knowledge of growing up in Goldendale and all the animals, and having to avoid rattlesnakes in that area, and there's cougars in that area, some black bear, but you never see them, And all my knowledge of animals, it's going through my head. Okay, that's not a bear. That's not I know animal sounds, and that's nothing I know of, but it's all this stuff. Time slowed in that instant. Everything's going through my head. What is this? What is this? What is this? And it's shaking the whole time. It's grunting at me. And it lasted for quite a while. It's grunting at me, and I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? all I could do is clench my fists, and I wanted to walk, but I couldn't lift the foot. This thing's still grunting at me. And as it's grunting, it starts shaking the tree. There's about 20-foot trees right along the edge of the swamp. There's guardrail, couple trees, and then the swamp that stretches out quite a ways. It fills up with body of water right there in that particular area of the swamp where this creature is. I'm going to call it a creature because it's nothing I know of. When you can relate to animal sounds, relate to animal characteristics of what they do. So it's shaking this tree, and I wanted to just run, but I couldn't. I wanted to fight, but I couldn't move. And it's not a fight thing because I'm just stunned across the street with this obviously a 2,000 plus pound beast, because what its vocals are shaking my rib cage from 4 lanes of traffic away. There's no cars going by. I'm just wishing for a car or something to come by. Anything, any kind of normalcy at that point. So it's almost like we're in a standoff. I'm stuck, paralyzed across the street while this thing is grunting at me. And I wanted to look. I wanted to just turn and just but all this thought process going through my mind, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a predator scenario. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I run? No, I can't run. Do I stare it down? No, I can't look directly at this thing, and I wanted to, but I couldn't. So I thought it was shaking the tree by grabbing it and shaking it, but apparently it was climbing, because all of a sudden I heard it jump from the tree and it almost cleared a 30-foot swamp. I heard one crash of its foot in the swamp, a splash, and then crunching as it walked across the solid ground from across the 30-foot jump. I don't know any animal that can do this, so at that point I'm even more shook. And it as it walked, its big branches were snapping like twigs, like toothpicks under it. And then it went silent, like it had crouched down and was watching me. So at this point I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? All this going through my mind, and I slowly got the courage or strength, I don't even know what to say, to start taking a little step. And I took a step, took another step, and there was a little bit of more of a street light up ahead, right around the corner out of the Soos Creek swamp area. So I'm coming up, and I just let it all out. I'm running up to the light, and I'm thinking, okay, this thing is going to be right on my tail, right behind me. With that sheer kind of power of what it did, I start moving. I'm thinking it's going to be right on my tail. So I'm getting up to the light. I got up to the light, and I jumped back to swing on whatever it was going to be, because I know it's not going to be a coyote, it's not going to be a cougar, it's not going to be a bear. Nothing that I know can do that kind of thing. So I got up to the light, and I jumped back. I turned. There's nothing there, and all of a sudden a car comes by, and I seen a sense of normalcy. A car or something real, something that wasn't like it's not supposed to be, some kind of beast, and I see a car come by, and at that point it almost broke again, because I seen normalcy, I guess you could say, and I had a feeling that I was going to be okay. I thought I was just going to be another missing person in the city. And the car had come by, and I just lost my ability and my legs. I dropped and just started bawling. Like I I was just in shock. I was terrified, and then I seen normalcy. So it was very, very weird. It was a very weird feeling. And all I could do was pick myself up, walk to work. The whole walk to work, I tell you what, I don't remember too much of the walk to work. I don't remember that too much of that day. I remember that day at work, but it was like when somebody would talk to me, I had to make it make sense in my head to what they were saying. I was stunned. I was stunned for a couple weeks after that. It felt like I didn't go out after work. I just went to work, went home, ate, went to sleep. Like, I just lost the communication with people for a while. It broke my brain in a way, because before this, I was 90% skeptical that there was anything out there like that. And 20%, something had to be there, 10% or whatever, something had to be there because all the talk and all everybody's so-called experiences. You can't really put yourself there and call it real until you've actually had some kind of experience like that. And I went on, the best I could. I didn't tell too many people after that, close people, but like even my sister, she was like, really? But in her eyes, I could tell she didn't fully believe, but she wanted to believe because of her being my sister. She just kind of like, da-da-da-da-da. And other people in my life like that too. So the more people I told about it and the more time that went on, I had to find out what I had experienced. And it wasn't too long after that experience that I had to find out what had happened. It was a little while after that. I had to find out what it was. So I'm like, it had to have been a gorilla or something. I had to play it off in my mind, trying to figure it out. It had to have been a gorilla or something. So I contacted, first people I contacted, I knew it was going to be a interesting phone call. It was the FBI. I don't know who you call at that point. You can't call the local authorities. You can't, there's no one really to call. You scoured the phone book and you're thinking all this, okay, who would I call? Or you're thinking in your head, who do I call about this? It's got to be some kind of animal that had escaped around here, right? It's got to be a gorilla. Even though in my mind I know there's no gorillas in any zoos around here. So, but I called the FBI. FBI phone call. He actually was like, hold on a second, and I was like, I experienced this thing that grunted at me, and he was like, hold on a second. I think he just told his FBI buddy about it, and they laughed it off, and he came back. Because there's some people that aren't too well in their mind in the city, There's those type people out there that just carry on with schizophrenic thoughts. But this actual experience, so I knew that was going to go bad with the FBI, and I just never called them back or anything. Time went on. I had to call somebody, so I called the zoos. I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, there's no gorillas, but I got to find out. And I actually called the zoo and talked to one girl. She didn't know anything, so she had to contact someone else. They got back, and it was more joke-like. If I try to contact any kind of authority with any kind of animal type thing, like FBI, that was kind of far-fetched. The zoo, kind of strange. So I had to figure this thing out. So I started looking more into the Bigfoot realm and started looking for people to talk to, just maybe help with this particular area. And I got a hold of this one person, never went too far. And then I found out that his name had been tarnished over some kind of hoax or something. And we talked for about an hour, and I almost did his radio show. I didn't do that. I was actually working that night, so I didn't do a radio show for him, and went on and went on to contacting more people, and actually had a researcher come out, and we went through that area not too long ago. And a little after that actual incident, I actually went in thinking that I was going to figure out on my own by going back to that swamp location right off the road. And since I lived so close, I thought I was going to, okay, I'm going to take my dog. I had a 90-pound pit at the time, and she had a spiked collar. And I'm legal. I'm over 21, so I had to have a handgun. I had 45 at the time, and I had full metal jacket hollow points and home protection. So I thought I was going to go in there wrong. I say wrong because they can sense you going in wrong. And I say wrong as any kind of hostile intention in their area towards them. I didn't think it would happen like it did, but I thought I wouldn't find anything. Nothing would happen. It's daylight. I'm just going to go in there. I'm looking for tracks or hair or something, but I want to be protected because whatever it was beast. So I go in there, not 20 foot into the bushes with my dog, got my gun on my side, not drawn or nothing, I'm just let my dog lead. Go 20 feet into the bush, and I've never seen my pet do this. Her hair stood up when she's got somewhat angry towards something, but she was smelling in the air all around me. She was leading me in a circle with her hair standing up. And at the time, you know how somebody's watching you? You could feel their eyes on you. It could be from across the room. You look over, they're staring at you because you can feel it. This is coming from all directions. And I just felt surrounded at that point. So I got out of there. No real me running into them or anything that day in that daylight, but I felt the presence. My dog smelled them all around. And till this day, I think about that area, and with the researchers that I've contacted, we went and took a look at the particular area, and there's actual Lake Young's is a body of water that's a drinking reservoir water that public aren't allowed to go in there. So this thing is completely fenced off with wooded area before the Lake Young. And the Lake Young is actually pretty big. So there's I'm thinking, how did this thing get to the city from where it is? And I'm looking on a map. There's a clear line of that it could follow from the power line area to the lake, which is now like a good habitat for a huge lake that people can't really go into. That's completely fenced off. And then we got the Soos Creek swamp that stretches over to where I had my encounter. Across that is more wooded area, and then there's a school at the end of it. And after time, I started going in more research of Bigfoot and how they're attracted sometimes to kids playing, the sounds. I'm thinking, well, why would it be here? Why would it come up? Was it just coming to look and spy on people, or what is it? And there's a food source that actually grows in the Soos Creek swamp. Actually, quite a bit of salmon berries. And then I'm thinking in that time frame, on that Sunday morning, it was a particular time of when salmon berries were growing. So it could have been foraging through there in the middle of the night. And taking quite a bit of time to even talk about it. This happened, say, about 13 years ago or so. At first, I couldn't even talk about it. I would think, if somebody came at me before I've had this encounter, I would think that, I'd have to be skeptical on it. I couldn't, until you're there in that particular encounter, you have an encounter of any kind, you're skeptical about it until it happens to you, which is, you have to be in a way. And you have to take some heed to their warning in a way as well. Till this day, I believe that I could encounter it again, but I've tried to talk to people to go down there and try to get some actual footage or something of this thing, because in the back of my mind, I still have to find that proof for the people I've told, because I could tell they're skeptical, and even my wife, she don't believe. Till this day, if I talk about it or something, periodically it'll be, oh, he thinks he's seen something one night. But it's not out of love, she's got to let it go. Which from her side, I got to let it go as well, because until you've experienced it, some kind of happening, it's hard to believe. There's many people who could tell you, until one is, I'd hate to say it, actually found where they find a body. There has to be a body of it, alive or deceased. It's just going to be half joke, half like, gotta take consideration of it. And throughout the time of looking into it, and my family actually told me about this, and I didn't even know it, but my dad told me that in the back of the Fish and Wildlife, there used to be Bigfoot listed as an endangered species, and $5,000 or $10,000 fine, up to 5 years in prison or something if you shoot one. And I guess they've removed that from the Washington fish and hunting pamphlet. I haven't looked at one recently, but after so long of looking into it and still having, like, the location, I tell you what, I could go back and look and, like, set up camera or whatnot of the location, but it's actually terrifying to even try it. After this long still, it's like, that thing, I literally thought I was just going to be a missing person. What animal can climb a 20-foot tree and jump 30 yards from that kind of position would be, like, immensely powerful. And until this day, I haven't really found the proof out there. Like, I've found the proof, but to go and collect proof, like, it was almost a chance encounter, I would have to put it up to, I smelt like a giant hamburger, so there's probably covered up my human scent. The wind must have been blowing in a direction to where we just kind of stumbled upon each other. Otherwise, what it did, it could just avoid me with instantly, and just hunker down, and you wouldn't even know it was there. So after that experience, it's looking at the woods, I look at it different. I used to be fine going out in the woods by myself, There's nothing to it. What in Goldendale, the most you have to avoid is, like, rattlesnakes in the leaves or something, the brush. And now it's like, you go in there. I wouldn't go in there alone in the woods, and going in there with the gun, going in there wrong. You got to protect yourself, but they're not going to show themselves if you have a gun. I almost think they can smell the gunpowder or whatever it is, or just they see it. In my eyes, they see you going into the woods before you even start looking for them. So I think as soon as you step foot in the woods, you're almost tracked in a way that you don't know you're tracked. And sometimes the sightings are them seeing the ones that are tracking them. It's been a long road, and just from that experience, that particular Sunday morning, all perspectives changed on the Bigfoot thing. That he's definitely out there. I don't see it being a different type of cryptid the way it actually interacted with me. I've heard of other different types of cryptids and other different types of scenarios of what's happened to other people, but this particular thing was gorilla, thousands of pounds gorilla type, but not full gorilla in its vocalization. It was how I could try to produce the sound. It may sound weird, but it was a except put thousands of pounds behind that with vibration that rattles your chest from a long ways away, like a, just imagine a 12 foot beast, probably 7 feet across, and its sheer vocalization just rattles you from 4 lanes away. That's beast-like. And I would never want to try to, like, actually pursue one fully. Like, I don't think it would go well for anyone that would try, because it wasn't just, when I went in the day, I thought it would be singular, but after in the day, there's more than one, I believe, that go through this particular area. And I still haven't had a conclusion on it, and it feels like there's still a void that I still have to find out what this particular, and where, like, have more understanding of what it was that night. Morning, I should say morning, but yeah, been an interesting road. It's completely changed my perspective, and I have a sense of respect for him in the way to where I wouldn't ever try to hunt one, because it had all opportunity to take me out that night. Like, I could have just been missing. And I felt like just an ant to a boot, pretty much, or cat and mouse, you know. It let me live, pretty much. So in that aspect, I don't want to go out and hunt one. So the only way I would ever get proof is like video, and nowadays video could all be manipulated. It's a hard road going down, because you're stuck with no one's going to ever believe this or that. They won't believe you're talking to them, so they're not going to believe a photo or a video, you know. I don't even think if I showed my wife, she would believe. So it's a hard one on proving existence after experiencing something like that. The most you could do is tell your story like I'm telling mine, and hopefully somebody, gets something from it. It helps to talk with others who've had experiences like it. It is almost therapeutic, like there's somebody else. So there is a community of people who have had experiences like mine, which has helped over time. It does help to talk about it. And it really breaks your brain. It breaks your brain when you do have an encounter. I'm glad that most people haven't had the type of encounter I've had where it literally grunts at you. some people have told me that I had been zapped. And I was like, zapped? They're like, yeah, zapped. They have an ability to hit you with a frequency that'll actually paralyze you and or even kill you, stun or kill you. And that kind of blew me away, and it kind of made sense from the way I felt afterwards. I try not to use that particular term because it was a grunt. In my eyes, it was a grunt, but it was, the vibration had me to where I couldn't move. I don't know how to explain. It was just like from my chest out. I felt my chest vibrate out, and I couldn't move. So I guess you could say zap. You know how some people say zap. It definitely hit me with something. Complete fear, and the sense of vulnerability. Like I was nothing. Like it could just take me out. So I'd come to terms with death when it was grunting at me. I'd just, when a predator of that magnitude, you encounter it and you feel that feeling of complete helplessness is what I would refer to.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves and the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. The sound of a memory brings me back to the bluegrass playing on my dad's 8-track. His pickup man had been through it, getting through the day on Scruggs and Skags, booking 8 bales to those Tennessee jams. There's no other way that I'd do it. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. Somebody call it backwards in double time, getting to the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems drumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Pace of the city life drives me wild. The only tune is the cars rushing by, with the bass on the stereos booming. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. Somebody call it backwards in double time, getting to the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems drumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Somebody call it backwards in double time, getting to the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems drumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm, fried chicken, porch swing, mama's best sweet tea kind of sound.